the next several weeks, we'll be talking about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict with Paul Johnson and Dr. Campolo.
I was disturbed by the visual of tanks aimed at the Church of the Nativity where Jesus was born.
You look around the world and you'll find that all the new wars are religious wars.
Saturdays with Mark and Tony and our special guest, Paul Johnson, and we're coming from the Southeast University, Eastern University, as opposed to Eastern.
Yeah, I'm from Eastern.
But this is Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida. Great place to send your kids, right, kids? Yeah. And your young people. And today we're going to talk, in fact, the next several weeks we'll be talking about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict with Paul Johnson and Dr. Campolo. And I am going to be sitting here nodding because I didn't go to Israel. You guys just...
You've been to Israel.
I've been. And the next time I go, it'll be on a white horse because I didn't really care for it. But it's just so beige. Everywhere you look, it's beige. At this beige spot, this happened. This beige spot, that. And it all runs together in my mind. It's just beige. But they went over there because they where'd you go?
Well, I was asked to deliver an address at the Bethlehem Bible College, which is an evangelical school in Bethlehem. And the purpose was to discuss the problems of the Palestinian people. The name of the conference was Christ at the Checkpoint, because the city of Bethlehem, and it's a pretty good-sized city now, it's not a little town, the city of Bethlehem has this wall that the Israelis have constructed around it so that you can't get out or get in without going through a checkpoint. And as a matter of fact, when we were going to the airport the day we were leaving, we were a little concerned because you can be held up at that checkpoint for hours at the time. And the real question is, what does the Christian church have to say, not only about the Palestinian Christians, which this was about, but about what is happening to the Palestinians and the injustices that they are having to endure under the oppression of the Israeli government, and they are being oppressed. Most Jews here in this country will say, yeah, they are getting kicked around. And none of this would be happening without the support of the U.S. government. And so this conference was to discuss all of that. Paul, you can kind of take it from there.
Well, we went over with the desire to support the Palestinian Christian community in Bethlehem, which is a community of Christians that most people don't even know about. And in fact, 10 years ago, I wasn't that aware of it. But I remember Mark and I were on a holiday about 10 years ago in Hawaii. I don't know if you remember this, but we were watching on TV the siege of the Church of the Nativity, and I kept saying, Mark, this is important, pay attention, come on.
And he was saying beige, yeah. It's all beige.
And he was kind of glazing over like, I don't know why you're so interested in this, but I had been to the Holy Land a couple times before, and I was disturbed by the visual of tanks aimed at the Church of the Nativity where Jesus was born, and I knew just enough to be dangerous. I knew that there was a Christian community there, and I wanted to know what they were experiencing and what their reaction was. And I said to you, we're not getting the whole story here on CNN. There's more to this story, and I actually Googled Palestinian Christians and found Bethlehem Bible College and wrote them an email, and they responded like within 24 hours. That's how I got pulled into this issue. And then the more I investigated on the internet, the more disturbed I was at how that they had a story that we haven't heard in the West. We don't hear about the church in Palestine. And in fact, we're even encouraged to kind of ignore them because it doesn't fit into some of our theologies that we hold dear.
Armageddon.
And I became concerned about this issue in another way. Right now, we have to face the fact that something is happening in this world that political scientists are well aware of. And that is, there's increasing movement towards a worldwide conflict between the Western states, which are Judeo-Christian to the large degree in their ethos, if not in their spirituality, at least in their ethos, the Western world and the Islamic world. Samuel Huntington, professor of political science at Harvard, a key representative, wrote a book just a few years ago called The Conflict of Civilizations. And he points out that from 1945 to 1995, every war on the planet was over political economic ideology. It was whether or not the communists were going to take over. Whether it was in Vietnam, whether it was in Africa, whether it was in Latin America, it was always the communists rising up, trying to usurp power from democratic capitalistic control. So it was always that. We were fighting against communism between 1945 and 1995. Samuel Huntington points out that every war from 1995 up until the present and into the 21st century has been over religion. Well, I mean, just right now in Nigeria, Muslims are killing Christians. In Sudan, in Indonesia. You look around the world and you'll find that all the new wars are religious wars. And this secular sociologist and political scientist is saying, this is frightening. Because in the words of Friedrich Nietzsche, who was hardly a member of the God Squad, he said that men never do evil with more enthusiasm than when they do it in the name of God. Religious wars are the worst wars that there are because people kill indiscriminately thinking that God is on their side. Right. And I'm seeing this conflict emerging. And if you listen to Al-Qaeda, you say, what's this all about? What do you want the rest of us to do? Number one on their list is do justice for the Palestinian people. If you ask about any of the conflicts in the Muslim world, this is the number one issue, the Palestinians. Right now, Israel is concerned, and rightly so, about the president of Iran, who wants to destroy Israel. And the King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, the King of Jordan, the Prime Minister of Egypt, all of these Arab nations would gladly join with Israel in opposing Iran because they're as scared of Iran and their capability of developing a nuclear weapon as the United States and Israel is. But they can't because what has happened is that Iran has allied itself with the Palestinians, and to be opposed to Iran right now is to be anti-Palestinian. And so the world is paralyzed because we're not doing what's right for the Palestinian people. So I come into this, not as you did, with a deep concern for Palestinian Christians, but a deep concern about the tendency in history, sociologically and politically, towards World War III, which will be a war over religion. And at this point, those people that talk about Armageddon may, in fact, scare the daylights out of me because I see this capability not coming from some prophecy conference, coming from the political science department at Harvard University. This is where the world's heading. Unless we do something right for the Palestinians, it's going to be a Holocaust.
It's one thing to believe in prophecy. It's another thing to try to fulfill it.
Yeah.
And I think that my orders from my master is to be a peacemaker.
Yeah.
And you say, well, when men speak of peace, sudden destruction is coming and all those things. But he said to be a peacemaker. And so my job is to be a peacemaker and let prophecy unfold while I'm trying to be a peacemaker. That's the way I think it should be. Rather than starting, like you said so brilliantly in that article, that you don't start with Armageddon and work backwards. You should start with the Sermon on the Mount and work forward.